Evening and welcome once again to this week's episode. It's my turn now, where everyone gets an opportunity to just let us know what's on your thought, on your mind. Let us know what your thoughts are. Just let us know how your week has been. It's my turn is designed that you, the guests, the listening audience, have an opportunity to share with us what your thoughts are on either the subject of the day, or you may decide to change the subject and say, it's my turn now. I want to talk about something different. But on today, we're going to talk about uh, there are a lot of differences between men and women, as we all know. As I counsel with a lot of different clients, especially men and female, the difference are very noticeable how they view things. And I'm sure if we ask, uh, even on tonight, men and women, what you see different, you all would just share. The ladies would probably look at it one way, the men would look at it another way. So I want to hear what your thoughts are on tonight. If you've been in any type of relationship or you've dealt with anybody of the opposite sex, male or female, you recognize very quickly that there are differences. Men feel, see, communicate differently than women feel, see, communicate different than men. So I want to give you an opportunity. Just let us know what your thoughts are. Why do you think that is? And do you think there's a difference? Do you feel that men and women see things differently? I've been married for 43 years, and I can tell you for certain certainty that there are times when my wife and I see things totally from a completely different viewpoint. We see things totally different, and so I just want to know what your thoughts are on what you think your views are. My wife, she said, "Praise Lord and greetings to everyone. God bless you, Sister Walton. Glad each week that you're on here and she's always supporting. Of course, I want to hear what your thoughts are. You can feel free. I'm going to put the link on too. If someone wants to come on live, just give me a second. I'm going to put the link on so you can come on live if you so. All right. Hold on just a second. I guess. Okay. So if you want to come on live, I'm putting the link on right now. We can see you, we can hear you. You can let us know that link right there at StreamYard.com. Feel free to click that link and we can see you, we can hear you, and you get an opportunity to just tell us what your thoughts or tell us what's on your mind. Uh, every week, I always encourage you, feel free to just share your thoughts. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what your thoughts are. Also, I want you to share the broadcast, share it, because sometimes people don't get to see. I have people tell me, well, it just popped up on my feed and I really enjoyed it. So you never know who you may encourage, who may be inspired by the topic on today. Each week we try to have a number of topics that I think are relevant, and many of them are interesting, many of them are exciting. This right here, I think is a very relevant topic. It may be exciting to you, it may not. I don't know what your thoughts are on the subject, but I do want to give you a chance. Oftentimes, many times, my wife and I, we do relationship seminars, and we're honest when we do seminars. My wife and I don't always see things eye to eye. We've been married 44 years, and we see things differently. Doesn't mean we have to fall out because we see things differently, but I think it's important to recognize that everyone has their own view. Everyone has their own opinion, and the key is to respect the other person's opinion. She doesn't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with her, but I should respect her view. Okay, sister. Oh, well, it says she shared. Thank you for sharing. Don't forget to share. So I think it's important that you respect the other person's viewpoint. One of the things, one of my latest projects is I just completed a book called To Forgive or Not to Forgive. And my wife and I have been working on this one project for some time now. It's a couple's prayer manual and journal. And so before we actually got it out, we actually have been working through it together ourselves. And as we process through the journal, we see a lot of things. The manual it points out a lot of things. I think it's going to be a very good book for couples. My daughter and I are working on one for singles, but we're coming out with one for couples first. And I think it's going to be a very good book. Again, we went through it ourselves, even though we wrote it. When I write a book, anytime I write a book, we write a book, I pray about, ask God to direct me. So it's almost like God's giving to me, directing it to me. And so once it's compiled together, I look at it and say, wow, this is what God has given me. And so we're applying it to ourselves, and we're getting some tremendous results, because a lot of time, until you take that time to analyze various situations, you really don't quite always understand what your partner or your spouse or even someone else, your friend, whatever, what their thoughts are, unless you take the time to just hear them out, listen to them, and you have to make a concerted effort in order to be able to communicate. So I want to give you enough time to come in here. If someone has a comment or question, before I've talked to a number of people, talked to a couple of friends of mine, a couple of pastors, a couple of bishops. I talked to them on subjects, and so I'm hoping they'll come on. We talk about that. Sometimes people feel comfortable. Sometimes people don't always feel comfortable to share their thoughts, and that's okay. But I would like for you, if you have some thoughts on that, I would like for you to come on and just let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think men and women think different? Do they feel different? Do they respond different? Men and women respond different under various situations. And don't worry, I don't have any problem sharing with you what my thoughts are, but I want to give you an opportunity to let us know what your thoughts are first. So I want to give you a chance before because I deal with this all the time. I deal with this on a daily basis, weekly basis, especially when I'm doing relationship counseling. Many times, two people can be talking about the exact same subject, but they look at it different. They view it totally different. And so one of the things that I do when it comes to couples and relationships, I tell people it's called reflective listening. And when you're doing reflective listening, and say for instance, I'll use the example of my wife and I, we're talking about something, and I'll say, well, or she's saying something, I said, what I'm hearing you say is, and so I give her a chance to clarify what she's saying, because there are times when she may have said something and I totally misunderstood what she's saying, or she'll say, so what I'm hearing you say is, and there have been times when we, believe it or not, thought we were hearing something totally different. And so it's a very, very powerful tool in communicating with someone. Just reflect back, say, what I'm hearing you say is, and then that way you give them a chance to clarify that this is really what I'm trying to say, because sometimes we hear it differently than what the person is saying. So, I think, those are tools that will help you to help your relationship. But many times people get in an argument it's simply because they don't understand what the other person's saying. Sometimes a person get in an argument with a spouse or someone, and it's not because they were trying to be mean. You misinterpret what they were saying. And if you don't quite understand, oftentimes it's just good to say, hey, help me to understand what you're trying to say. Help me to understand. I'm not sure what you're saying. And sometimes we just don't do that. We just don't get clarification. We respond, we react without clarification. I think it's important that you get clarification. Some people are just more emotional than other people too. Some people just react, boom, they are explosive, they react, and they don't even think about it. You have to have a cool, calm head in a relationship. And you got to be willing to take the time, just listen to what the other person's saying. Don't respond initially on what you thought you heard. It's okay to say, what I'm hearing you say is this, right? Is this what you meant? And give them a chance. Now, if that's not what you want to say, if that's you're hearing and you're upset about what you heard, you got a choice even after that. I didn't like what you said. How am I going to respond to what you're saying? Or is it that I didn't like what you said, but what you said, was it true? So if I didn't like what you said and it was true, then I have a choice. Either I can change the behavior and be respectful and change the behavior, or I can just continue to dig in, have a negative behavior, and create a greater problem. But the challenge is say, hey, let's work on ourselves. Let me work on me. Let me work on myself. And so many times when your spouse or your husband or your wife is talking to you, don't be oversensitive to the point that you can't hear what they're saying because you all wrapped up in your feelings. My feelings hurt. Well, I don't like what you said. Did what you say, was it true? You may not liked it, but is it true? Well, I don't like the way you said it. Well, is there another way that they could have said it? But at the end of the day, how are you going to respond in a mature way to what's said? A wise person is going to say, and a person who really wants peace, they're going to respond and say, you know what, if I offended you, please forgive me. But see, some people, oftentimes what people do in relationship, I'm not going to say who does the most. I'll let you figure out men and women. But sometimes people will deflect. And when they get upset and you say, I wish you would do this right here. I wish you would be kinder. Another person said, well, the last time I tried to be kind, they're deflecting instead of listening to conversation. Instead of getting involved in the conversation, say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I can be a little nicer. Or you can just say, well, what is being kinder? What does that look like to you? And then you give an opportunity to work together, creating a positive atmosphere with the other person. What does that look like? Help me to understand, because you may not genuinely not know that you're offending a person. You may genuinely not know that you're hurting a person, and you may not recognize it. But once it's pointed out to you, then you have a choice. Either you're going to correct the behavior or you're going to continue. If you really care about the person and you respect your relationship, you're going to change. You're going to say, hey, I appreciate, rather than get upset, appreciate what a person is giving you and consider it to be positive input. Appreciate the positive input that they're giving you. That way you can grow and that way you can build a relationship. But if you cannot accept criticism, then you are going to have some serious issues in your relationship. You've got to have the ability to be able to accept constructive criticism. I'm going to say it again, you have to have the ability to accept constructive criticism. Too often people are not willing to accept that constructive criticism, but you got to be willing and able to accept that constructive criticism. So I want to give you a few more chances. Don't be afraid to come on here and talk on this open forum. You don't have to air out your laundry or your dirty laundry, so to speak, but you can share with us maybe a scenario, maybe something that you grew, something that you learned from and experience, because maybe you can help somebody else through the process. Especially young couples, when they first get married or first get together, they have ideals and concepts that everything's going to be beautiful, everything's going to be excellent. We both saved, but they're challenged. Why? Because people have to realize that no two people think alike. No two individuals think alike. You're different, and you have to recognize that. And you have to be able to respect the differences that the person has. All right. So I want to give you a chance, but I wrote down some examples. For example, a woman shares a frustrating day at work. Men, listen to that. She comes to you and said, I just had a rough day at work. My boss is giving me a hard time. I don't like this job. I'm frustrated. And here's what average man's response would be. Average man, this is not everybody. Average man's response is going to be, why don't you just quit that job or talk to your boss? Most of the men are listening to this right here and say, you know what, that's probably what I would say. And that possibly, before I got into counseling, that probably would have been the way that I would have responded. But here's the expectation of a woman when she says that to you. Here's what she's really wanting. It says she wasn't looking for a solution. She wanted you to empathize with her and to just listen. In other words, she don't want you to just tell her a solution. She just wants you to hear. And so then if she doesn't respond the way you feel like she should respond, you have to understand Women are wired different. She sees it different. She's not saying, I'm going to quit my job. Eventually, she may quit a job. But initially, she's just saying, I'm frustrated, having a rough day. I just need somebody to talk to. And so she needs you to have a listening ear. And so men tend to move toward fixing problems. Women often process emotions before seeking solution. They're saying, this is how I felt. I felt this way. I felt this way. And they're not as much concerned about the solution as much as they're concerned about just how I feel. I just had a terrible day. I feel terrible. It just didn't go right. I didn't like the way they did this right here. And so the men, again, you don't have to fix a problem. Just listen. I think I wrote that in one of my books, Women to Understand Building Healthy Relationships. Women do not want men to fix all the problem. They want you to listen with a listening ear. Be concerned, be passionate, be caring, be supportive. Another one I wrote down. Men feel love through respect, admiration, and physical intimacy. I'm going to say it again. This is important. Men feel love through respect, admiration, and physical intimacy. If you're on here and you don't want to say nothing, give me a like, give me a heart, or say something. But don't be shy or slow to say something. And I've dealt with a lot of relationships, a lot of couples, and this is a true factor. However, women feel love through affirming words, time together, and emotional connection. And I'm going to start first with the women, how they feel love. Affirming words, you affirm them, you affirm that self-worth, you make them feel valued, you make them feel that you're concerned about them, you make them feel that you really care about them. That's what you want. Affirming words, time together. I remember I was talking to a couple, and the husband worked 6 days a week, working overtime, making all kind of money, and the wife was saying, he doesn't really care about me. He doesn't care about me. And he's saying, how can you say I don't care about you? I'm working 6 days a week. I'm working hard, because I want my family to have what we didn't have coming up. But what she needed was that quality time. She could not understand that he sacrificed a quality time to bring in quality money. He sacrificed that time to bring that check in so the bills would be paid, so she would have a security of financial security. So I think it's important that you have those conversations with the other person. Maybe you sit down with your mate and say, what's important to you? What do you value? Because if you really want to please that person, you want to work toward a common goal and make sure that the goal that you have is a goal that satisfy the needs of the other person. But sometimes I've heard this right here that people think that they ought to know how I feel. He ought know how I feel. She ought know how I feel. And well, maybe they should, but guess what? If they don't, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sulk and say he needs to know how I feel or she should know how I feel? No, a mature adult attitude is to say, you know what? I need to have a discussion with you. There are certain needs I have that are not being met. Nip it in the bud rather than to go around in circles and be upset. And he's upset because you're upset, and he doesn't know why you're upset. So he's upset because you're not sharing with him, or you don't know why he's upset because he's not sharing with you. Have a sit down. Check in. That's one of the things in the book, the prayer manual journal. Is one of the things. Take some time every day to just check in with the other person and say, what's going on with you? What? How has your day been? What could I have done better to make this day better? And just have those conversations. Really, when you look at it on the surface, it's really simple. But we we make it more difficult than it has to be. This is just taking the time to just listen to the other person, taking time to communicate with the other person. Let the other person know how you feel. Nobody feel, because nobody reads minds. I don't read minds. God's blessing with the spirit of discernment. A lot of times I see things, even when I'm counseling with clients, I can see things. They'll tell me, well, how do you know that? Well, God reveals things to me. And so God can reveal things to you. But all you have to do is just ask. Ask person, what's in your mind? Ask person, is there something wrong? Ask the other person, is there something that you need? Ask the person, what can I do better? I wonder how many couples actually do that. When you're upset, are you able to regulate your emotions in such a positive way? You say, you know what? I'm hurt, and this is why I'm hurt. Too often times what happens is the people who don't have proper emotional regulation, they react and they react in a negative way, instead of saying, hey, you know what you said hurt me. But then you have that push pull. Okay, you hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt you back. That never works out. Never works out. I'm gonna say it again, it never works out. Many times people have been hurt in a relationship, and they'll say, well, I want them to feel what I feel. I want them to hurt just like I hurt. Nobody can feel hurt the same way that you hurt. They can't. Everybody's different. Your emotion, you wired different. Two people can experience the exact same situation, and the experience is totally different for each person. So if you try to get back with the person, you're saying, well, I did this because I wanted him to feel how I felt. No, they may not feel, they're not going to feel the way you did. They may feel worse, or they may not feel as bad. It may not even bother them as much as it bothers you. And here you've gone and gotten outside your character because the enemy has told you, well, I'm doing this right here because I want him to know how I feel. I want her to know how I feel. They're not going to know how you feel. Best thing you do is just communicate and say, you know what? I was very hurt. What happened? It really hurt me, and I was very disappointed. That's what you can do, to communicate that with that person. Let them know how you feel. Now, if you don't hear, let me know, because usually by now I have a few more responses. I'm not getting a lot of response, so I don't know if it's going public or not. So let's let us know. If you're on here, say something. Let us know that you're on here. Let us know what your thoughts are. Anybody have any questions? So what I'm doing now, this is some of the things I talk about in counseling sessions with my clients. This is some of the things that my wife and I address whenever we do relationship seminars. We do couples seminars, and we also do relationship seminars, because the challenge that we have is not only with husband, wife. It could be friends, family, all types of relationships, just men, women, father, daughter, father, mother, son. Just when it comes to relationship, it's just as people say. I don't see it much on Facebook, I used to say, and ask people, are you in a relationship? It's complicated. Well, I don't know what they mean when they say it, but relationships can be complicated. But they don't have to be as complicated as we make it if we're willing to communicate, willing to take the time to listen to the other person. And it's about not being selfish. It's really not. It's about not being selfish to the person. It's about just talking to the person, letting people know how you feel, express yourself, let resentment go, let anger go, and caring and respecting the other person. It's respecting. Again, men feel love through respect. The way that you talk to him. No man wants a woman to just talk to him any kind of way. Amen. I'm going to say amen like I'm in church. Amen. No man wants a woman to just talk to him any kind of way, especially in front of his friends and family. So if you really respect a man, you're going to be very mindful of how you talk to that person. And when you're in a relationship and there's a disagreement, what is your goal? Is your goal to change that negative behavior, or is your goal to do as much damage to that person as possible? If you're a child of God, your goal should never be to do as much damage to that person, because you can do so much damage that become irreparable. That if you hurt someone, someone says just like feathers and a pill, you throw it up in the air and you're not gonna get it all back. That's how you have to be careful with your words. You have to be careful what you say. Mind your words. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. So men like love when you respect that man. That's showing him love. Admiration. Show that man that he's how special he is. Men have big egos. Ladies, most of you ladies know it. Men have extremely big egos. Some people have bigger egos than others. They just want you. They want you to heap them with praise. And if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. That's how a lot of affairs. I've talked to people, and that's how people got into affairs because the affection and admiration that person looking for at home, he's not getting it at home. Somebody else is giving it to him. So you think that you're hurting that person by not giving that admiration and respect, but you're hurting yourself because if you're taken away from your relationship, you're not only hurting him, but you're hurting the quality of relationship that you can have by investing in that person. Make him feel special. Don't be so quick to compliment other people and don't compliment your own husband, or just whoever it may be. Take the time to make them feel special. If you can't find nothing but something small, wherever how small it is, say, hey, well, listen, I appreciate the simplest little thing. It doesn't have to be something big, but just let them. Hey, I appreciate that. That means that goes a long way with the man. Especially you got some men out here that hard working. They got some men out here that's not worth a plum nickel that don't want to do anything, and you got somebody that's working hard that's taking care of you. Appreciate that man. Show that man that you value him. Admiration. Boy, you so special. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking care of bills. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you taking care of the house. I appreciate you putting gas in the car. Whatever little thing he does. Because if you show appreciation for a little bit, it's going to make that person want to do more. And that's I'm going to say 95% of men like that. There are some men that you can show them admiration like that, they're not going to value. But that's not the majority. That's the minority. I've dealt with this too long. There's too many men. All they want is a kind word. The head gets big. You compliment that man, make that man feel good. He's going to do almost anything for you. But if you refuse to do it, and he goes to work, he goes on his job, and everybody's complimenting, the ladies are complimenting him, that's going to create a problem. Because he craves that, and if he's getting it from the wrong person, he's going to crave it, and you don't know where that's going to lead to. Now, this is real talk, so, but same thing, men. Same thing with your wives, your girlfriends, significant other who give them a compliment, praise, because if they don't, somebody else is going to do it. And then and I've seen this happen women, and the husband don't appreciate them, they don't value them. And then there's other guys out there. I've seen guys say, girl, nobody wants you. And I say, man, what's wrong with you? I say, you wanted her, you married her, and you're gonna say nobody else want her. That's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And somebody wants her, brother. You better believe that. Your eyes may become blinded, but you may not realize it. Somebody say, give me a like or a heart. If you think if I'm on the right track, give me a like or a heart and say, hey, Bishop Walton, you're on the right track. Because somebody's going to appreciate that person. The problem is you may not appreciate now what you appreciate years ago. But it's somebody that recognizes the value that the person has. Physical intimacy. Don't be afraid to touch that person. Don't be afraid to. And I've seen, when you first start dating, first start talking, couldn't keep your hands off the person. Now they touch you all drawed up, all draw up. What's wrong? Hey, you bet. Somebody, listen, I talked to too many clients that are craving intimacy, craving someone to just touch them, craving for somebody to give them a hug. And here you have a spouse or you have someone who you just act like you can't even touch them, act like it's going to kill you to touch them. Physical intimacy. Now, men, Women feel love through affirming words. I appreciate you. You're special. There's nobody like you. They love to be affirmed. Time together. Spend some time together. I know you're busy, but there's three things you need to take time for. First of all, take time for God. Because if you take time for God, a lot of this stuff right here are problems you won't have because God will direct your heart and God will show you. Secondly, take time for your spouse. I'll put your children and your family into that same group. Take time for your home. Take time for your family. Take time for your children. Take time for them. Don't get so caught up in everything else that you can't take time for them. Then third, you have to take time for yourself. Self-care is so important. And I'm going to say this right here, and someone may have a problem with this. God bless you. Mark says, praise the Lord. I will say this right here. Now, somebody may take offense to this right here, and it says, amen. Somebody may take offense to this right here, but listen. When I first got saved, we were in church 7 days. I was in church 7 days a week. Really, we had service 6 days a week. But on the seventh day, we had prayer on Saturday, and I would go to prayer meeting on Saturday. You know, we spent so much time in church, and we didn't have time for our family. We didn't have time for our home. And there's some pastors out there still that have people doing so much. And I'm not saying this, for most cases, it's not really a lot of churches not having that quality time. But I think it's important that churches should focus on family dynamics. Church should focus on, there should be a time, pastor tell husbands, spend some time with your family. Spend some time with your children. You can't stay at church all day long. God is pleased when you take care and look out for your wife, when you take care and look out for your children. You cannot, and no pastor should expect that brother to be at church 7 days a week and not spend time for his wife. If there becomes a problem that a person going to church, and I'll say excessively, because sometimes, it's not a factor of just going to Bible class and saints meeting, or Sunday morning service. That's a different story. But a lot of extra services and things like that. And sometimes people are so wrapped up in a whole lot that Marcus says that's right. They wrapped up in so much, and they get them caught up in so much, and they get distracted and have problems at home. And so, then again, you got to listen to your spouse. If your wife is saying, honey, you spend too much time at church, you need to evaluate yourself and say, am I spending too much time at church? You go to church 6 and 7 days a week and you're neglecting your home, then you're not pleasing God. I'm just going to say that. If you don't like it, you can write me, you can inbox me, you can call me, you can text me. But I'm saying, if you spend so much time at church that you don't focus on God, because you have to realize that when you, especially if you're married, I'll start with a married couple. When you agree to marry that person, you agree to commit yourself to that person. So you have a spiritual obligation, a spiritual commitment to that person. And so God expects you to honor that commitment. So you got to take time with that person. You can't just say, I'm in church all the time. You love, no. There you go. But Marcus said there's a balance. There's a balance. Yeah, there has to be a balance. You can't do so much, and then you wonder why you're losing your home. I tell you what, when I first called a pastor, true story, I was so gun ho when I got called to pastor 30-some years ago. It was all about church, and when my wife wasn't excited as excited about the church as I said, what's wrong with you? I'm saying, man, she's not spiritual. But then I realized as I matured, God didn't call her. God called me. And my obligation was to do what God called me. But she followed me out of love and respect to me. And once I learned that, I realized I had to make time for her. So what my wife and I did, my wife, every Friday is our date night. Every Friday. Unless something major happened, Every Friday we go on a date. It doesn't have to be a big date. It doesn't have to be an elaborate date. But what that does, that forces us to spend time together to listen to each other. What's on your mind? Same with your children. My daughter, until she went to college, every Monday was art day, father and daughter day, every Monday. And I would say, "What's on your mind, honey?" And she looked forward to that. So I was able to check in with her. We had a good relationship. You have to check in with your family. No ifs, ands, buts about. Check in with your family. Hear what they got to say. Listen, especially fathers. Listen to those daughters because they're at the age that they're vulnerable, and these guys are slick out there. There's some slick folks out there, and if you don't listen to them, there's somebody else who don't take the time to listen to them, and they're gonna be drawn to anybody who has their ear, anybody who's willing to listen to them. Love is felt differently. Men equate love with support or admiration. Remember that. It's felt different. When you affirm me and when you show admiration for me, I feel the love. Plain and simple, I feel the love. And when I don't feel the love. And that's what you have to be aware of. All right. Comparative version, compartmentalization versus connectivity. I'll give you an example. Man comes home after a stressful day, turns on TV and says nothing for an hour. Does that? Can anybody relate to that? Husband comes in, he ain't saying nothing. He don't say anything for an hour. The man's mindsets are here. He's not upset with you, ladies. He's just departmentalizing and recharging his brain from the activities. And the more responsibility that man has, the more he's trying to decompress. He's trying to get his thoughts together. And so sometimes women feel like, why aren't you talking about? You come in, you're not saying anything to me. Give the man a chance to kind of get himself together. Now, if he goes 3 and 4 or 5 hours, now you got a problem. But give him a little chance. I used to tell my wife, I said, "Now listen, when I first come home, if the dog got hit by a car, I don't even want to know it for the first hour. Give me a little time because your home is your sanctuary and you want to come, rest your mind, and then let's talk." And so what happens is a woman's reaction, why won't he talk to me? Did I do something wrong? No, ladies, you didn't do anything wrong. The man is not upset with you. He just needs that time. So next time that happens, remember that. He just needs that time. Men often separate emotions and events into mental boxes. Women tend to connect everything emotionally and rationally, but men just put them in different boxes. Let me see. Appreciate. So my wife and I are going on 32 years of marriage, August 14th, and we have always had a date night. That's beautiful. I encourage you. I encourage you to have that date night. Talk to them. Listen where they're going. I found something. As you go out on dates with your spouse, I found something very interesting. I'm going to share this with you. I hear this often, and I didn't realize how important it is. Sometimes when my wife and I would go out to dinner, I say, "Well, where you want to go?" She said, "Where you want to go?" I said, "Where you want to go?" She said, "Where you want to go?" You make the decision. I'm thinking in my mind, this is how we think different. I'm thinking in my mind that I'm trying to give her the opportunity to tell me where you want to go because, hey, you tell me where you want to go, you're going to be happy. But a lot of women want you to make that decision. I'm going to help some men out there. A lot of women want you to make that decision for them. They don't want you to say, "Well, where you want to go?" Just say, "Hey, plan a date, plan a dinner, and let's go," and surprise them. So it took me a little while to learn that. And again, is how we look at things. Men look at things different. I would look at it as though, hey, I just want you to go somewhere where you're happy and I know that you like it, you're satisfied with it. But women say, no, I just want you to be the man and I want you to decide where we can go and let's just go. That's free of charge. Let me see. This says, we came in old school back in the day were not encouraged to miss any of the 9 services a week. Took years to learn the balancing act. It's so true. And I thank God that we finally got it. Problem is some of us got it too much and we don't want to go to church at all. Again, it's back to what someone else said, there has to be balance. I knew, this is a true story. There was a couple, and remember years ago, we didn't believe in going bowling. Marcus said, right. We didn't believe in going bowling. There was a couple that got married, neither one of them were saved. Well, the husband just loved bowling. And so what happened was the wife got saved. The husband wanted to go bowling, and the wife did not go bowling. The wife couldn't go. Asked her pastor. Pastor said, "We don't believe in bowling." That created a separation in that family. All the husband wanted to do was to go bowling. I'm glad we have an understanding of it now. There's some people now that may still feel like going bowling. Bowling is a problem. But we say we're in the world, but we're not the world. But the Bible said, "Let your light so shine that men may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven." You can go to a bowling alley, and you don't have to be drinking beer. You don't have to be cussing. You can let your light shine, but be there with that man. Now, I'm not telling you, not every atmosphere is conducive. You don't have to go every place, but I think there are some places that you are, you should be able to feel free to go. But that destroyed that marriage, that thing, because it meant so much to him. And so we've got to understand that pastors need to understand that we have to bridge families together, not create division for pastors. But I think by and large, I think most of the pastors now, they are aware of that, and most of them are very understanding. However, there are some small churches that what they want to do, they want to keep the people. They want to keep the people in the church all the time. Forgot to turn my phone on. They want to keep the people in the church all the time. Don't want them to go anywhere, afraid they're going to go somewhere, afraid they're going to learn something. And so they keep them coming to church 6-7 days a week. They have to come to church on Christmas, every holiday, come to church and have regular service. I'm a firm believer. On Christmas Day, let's have a service. So you have our service, but you don't have to have service all day. I know churches to this day, they believe on Christmas Day, we're going to have service all day long, just like a regular service. It's not going to kill the saints. You're not going to backslide if you just come to service, have a sunrise service, early morning service on Sunday. You're not going to backslide. And so I think we just have to use wisdom. We just have to use discretion. Amen. I hope I'm saying something to help somebody. Okay. Communication style. A couple argues. The woman says, "You never listen to me." And the man said, "That's not true. I heard everything you said." Does that sound familiar to somebody? I'm sure it sounds familiar to somebody. I think there's some people in here. I hope you get something out of it. There's some people over here. Sometimes people are just afraid to respond, and I hope you are in a relationship where you can respond. Break down. He's hearing her words. She wants him to understand her feelings. I'm going to say it again. A couple argues. The woman says, "You never listen to me." And the man said, "That's not true. I heard everything you said." You may have heard everything she said, but are you understanding her feelings? And again, remember what I said back, reflect and listen. Say, "Well, I'm hearing you say this right here." And you give her a chance to just kind of open up and express really what she's trying to say. Okay, saying you're telling the truth. You give her a chance. I think it's important to the other person. See, you have to ask her, what is my goal? When you have a disagreement, what is my goal? Is my goal to win the argument, or is my goal to create a positive atmosphere, create positive change in the relationship? I don't care if it's your husband, your wife, it could be you and the kids. Sometimes folks argue back and forth with the kids, and you're not getting anywhere. So, hey, let's sit down, let's talk. Sometimes people just get angry, and you got to get a cool head before you get anything accomplished. So it says he's hearing her words. She wants him to understand her feeling. So what may have to happen? Say, "I'm hearing what you say. Help me. If you don't understand, honey, help me to understand what you're saying." Simple. God bless you. DJ Coleman said this is a big difference between hearing and listening. So true. Listening, and you have to take off your defensive mode, because sometimes people are when you arguing, you're not really listening to the person. You waiting for a chance to get your 2 cents in. But if you want a healthy relationship, it's not about me getting my 2 cents. It's about me getting understanding. It's let's work this thing out. Let's accomplish something. Let's not just go back and forth to each other. Let's communicate with each other. Men need to learn that. Women need to learn that. We need to learn to listen, to communicate. He's hearing her words. She wants him to understand her feelings. Women often value emotional validation and tone, while men may focus more on factual content. Now, this is what I found, but in reality, I found out that it works both ways. What it's saying right here, it says women often value emotional validation and tone, while men may focus more on factual content. I think both people value that. I think men and women both value the tone. How are you talking to me? Sometimes, have you ever gotten a conversation about, you ain't gonna talk to me like that? You better lower your voice. I don't know who you think you're talking to. If it gets to that point, then you already know something's wrong. You need to tone it down. You need to bring it down. Hey, God bless you, Sherry. She said, hey, Pastor, God bless you. So you just have to learn how to tone that. If you're going back and forth, somebody needs to say, we're not accomplishing anything. I don't care what type of relationship it is. I've learned to just count to 10, take a break. Hopefully you realize it sooner than later. Most people, after you go round and round and round circle, then you realize, we ain't getting nowhere. Someone has to say, listen, okay, I'm gonna listen to what you're saying. And I share in when my wife and I would do relationship seminars, I share a true story. My wife and I, one time, this is probably about 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, we had a discussion or something, and we were going back and forth. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I'm just going to listen to what you say. I'm just going to listen. She said, no, you ain't going to listen. You're going to say something. I said, no, I'm just going to listen to it. I made up in my mind that I was just going to listen to what she had to say. So what I did was she was talking and she was talking and she was talking, and I was listening. And I'm like, I'm saying in my mind, oh Lord, So you have to teach yourself, you have to train yourself to be able to listen. I'm gonna say it again. We have to train ourselves to be able to listen. So we so used to responding and reacting, we have not trained ourselves to listen. It takes discipline to listen. And so she was talking to me, and I said, I want to say something so bad. I'm listening, but I'm talking to myself. I said, now you told her that you're going to listen to her. But I said, I don't agree with what she's saying. So what do you do when you listen to a person and you don't agree with what they're saying? Guess what? You just keep on listening. You listen long enough, you'll have a chance. So I listen, and I listen, and I listen. I didn't say anything. I just listened. And as she was talking, she was processing her thoughts. And then she started saying, you know what? This really don't make any sense. I never had said a word. The power of listening, the power of just listening to what the person said, it was so powerful. It shocked me. I wanted to say something, but I said I'm not going to say anything, and I didn't say anything. And by the time the conversation was out, as she was talking, she processed the whole thing herself. Sister Cool said, it's hard to listen if you don't agree with what someone's saying. That's so true. You don't have to agree, but you can listen, because even if you don't agree, you can listen to get understanding, because you're hearing what they're saying, and gives you an opportunity to say, hey, where are they coming from? Where are their thoughts in this right here? And maybe you can ask them, well, at some point you say, well, help me to understand this. You don't have to, because how you respond is important too. So you can say the exact same thing in different ways and say, it don't make any sense, or say, help me to understand what you're saying. Because I could have said, I could very easily at that time say, this ain't making no sense at all. But what you say is, say, help me to understand what you're saying. And that's a better way than saying what you say. I don't agree with it. It don't make no sense. Help me to understand what you're saying. I'm hearing what you're saying. Help me to understand. And then that gives them another opportunity to reframe what they're saying. They can think about what they're saying. And as they hear themselves talking, if they're sincere, they'll say, you know what? Maybe, my approach is wrong. Maybe I'm dealing with this from a bad angle. Uh, brother, God bless. Good hearing from him. Heard from you. Well, Bible says slow to speak, but quick to listen. Amen. That's one of the biggest keys we can learn. Swift to hear, slow to speak. The problem is some people they just don't take the time to listen. Some people just react before they really get the hold. Have you ever seen? And you may have done it. I've done it before. Before a person finishes saying what they're saying, you respond because you got emotions there. You hear part of it, and boom, you respond. But when you can learn to say, count to 10 to yourself, and say, I'm going to listen to the person, hear this person out. You grow, you mature. It helps you both because it's a process. Communication, effective communication is a process. You got to learn to take the time, put the time in for a healthy relationship. Just listening to you. Thank you, Sister Jamie. We just have to learn to listen. 44 years I've been married. We had a lot of disagreement. We had a lot of disagreement, but I'm learning. I'm learning every day. People are complicated. People, and till you take the time to listen to a person and give them the freedom to express themselves. And that's about respecting the person. Respect and realize any two people don't think the same. I don't think the same as my wife. My wife don't think the same as me. We both born the same month, same day, same year. But we do not think alike about a lot of situations. However, it's kind of crazy, funny though. The older we get, sometimes we'll be getting ready to say the exact same thing. At the exact same time, we were out with my daughter, and we were talking, and we both responded the same way. She said, "Wow," I said, "Y'all both were saying the exact same thing at the exact same time." I guess that's what happened after you old and get together. But also, when you are able to become on one accord, you begin to understand the way a person's mindset, and you're able to better communicate because you've listened to them. You understand that person, and that's what it's about. Understand the people that are around you. Understand the people in your environment. Try to ask God to help you understand how they respond, how they click. Because sometimes I've seen people that look mean. They just look mean, but they're not mean. That's just the way they look. Sometimes they're a victim of their experience, what they've been through, and you just assume that this person is mean. Listen, let's not always assume that people are mean. We got to learn how to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's my turn now. I have ease fix. Just listen to us, and you mean it to be all right. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's ease fix. It works for ladies, that's for sure. But there's some value that if we listen to them, but it has to be a mutual thing. They have to listen to us as well. So I've had some preachers. We have a different conversation now. I was hoping some of the preachers would come on and say something, but I guess they kind of a little afraid to say something. But don't be afraid. Don't be scared, as they say. Speak your piece. This is my turn now, where everybody has the opportunity to express what's on their mind. But we just have to learn. If you can learn to be a good listener, that is so powerful. I'm learning to be a good listener. I think what has helped me to be a better is been a therapist. You can't be a good therapist if you not a good listener. And I've learned to listen. I'm listening. I'm watching, and it helps me to. You can't help anybody if you're not listening to them. So you have to value. Not only that, but you have to value what the other person says. Value what other person's emotion. Value how another person feels. Okay, let me get another example. Okay, here's another example. Multitasking versus singular focus. A wife is cooking dinner, helping the kids with homework, and talking on the phone. Her husband is fixing the sink and gets frustrated when she talks to him while he's focused. Does that sound familiar with anybody? Women are often wired to handle multiple tasks at once, while men tend to concentrate on one task at a time for efficiency. And I will say that's me. Sometimes I can cheat my wife me doing a whole lot of different stuff. I'm doing one thing, and she'll talk to me. I said, "Well, honey, let me focus on this right here for right now." And so she has to understand I've got to stay focused in order for me to be able to get this job done. If I don't stay focused, I'll lose concentration, and it'll be difficult. Women are gifted. Women are God's creature to society. They can do so much, and that's why I say men ought to really value women. Women are very special creatures in the eyes of God, and we just have to learn how to value them for who they are. They're different. They're not going to be like you. They're not going to think like you. But just that's okay. That's okay. Just respect them for who they are. Okay, emotional expression. A woman says, "I feel like we're drifting apart." The man replied, "We live together, sleep in the same bed, and eat dinner every night. How are we drifting apart?" That might sound familiar to somebody too, because I hear that. I hear that a lot in counsel with couples. Men may associate emotional connection with actions or presence. Women often connect emotionally through words, intimacy, and shared feeling. So, men, I think it's important to say kind words to your wife. Say positive affirmations. That's how they connect, not just through your action, but through what you say. I know we say actions speak louder than words, but let the Bible says that from the abundance of the heart, does the mouth speak. So what's in you and what you're willing to do and what you're willing to show and what you're willing to display makes a big difference. So what I'm saying, I'm not just saying this is for couples, but this is dynamics in any type of relationship. I don't care who the relationship is, with your family or friend. Okay, let's see. Okay. It's my turn now. I have an easy fix for men. Listen to us and you all will be all right. Okay. She said it twice. Okay. Listen. I'm just from the abundance of the heart with mouth speak. I guess that's what I'll say. If I listen to her, I'll be all right. So in other words, if I listen to you, then do I have a right to have a mindset of my own? Am I supposed to listen? We have to ask ourselves that. And I know my wife is kidding, but sometimes people have that type of attitude. They feel like, and women feel like that way. A lot of women do feel that way. She might be kidding, but a lot of women feel like if men listen to us, in a lot of cases, a lot of men will do well if they listen to the wives. The wives have, they intuitively, they see things and they sense things that men don't see. That's across the board. I had to give it to you, ladies. It's just there. Women see things. They talking about discerning spirit. Talking about woman's intuition. It's just there. And so a lot of times I've seen men make shipwreck because they've been given good advice by the wife, the mother, the sister, some significant female in their life, and they just refuse to accept it. Some men are just hard headed. You can't tell me anything. Don't be hard headed till you can't at least consider something somebody says. When somebody says something to you, take the time to consider it. Don't always use it. Well, they just saying that because this. Well, maybe the person don't like you, but it's the advice that they're giving you. It's the sound advice. Don't just discard uh, positive criticism because you feel like that person doesn't like you. Just listen. Some of the people who can help you the best may be the people that you may not see eye to eye with. Listen to what you say. Well, we run out of time. 9 o'clock came by real fast. Yeah. So again, we recognize the fact men, women, they feel different, they see things different, they respond differently. But I think the key is to communicate. The scripture tells us that, and all they get an understanding. We have to learn how to get an understanding. In your relationship, get an understanding. Do not take the other person for granted. Whatever relationship you're in, do not take that person for granted. Don't take your kids for granted. Don't take your parents for granted. Don't take your spouse for granted. If you're engaged, don't take the person for granted. True situation. There was a gentleman But I was talking to, I said, I listened to the way he was talking to his wife. I said, you better treat your wife a little bit better than that, brother. I said, if you don't treat her better, that woman's gonna leave you. Oh, she ain't going nowhere. She ain't going nowhere. My wife and neighbor ain't going. And don't you know what happened? I saw it not too long ago. It wasn't not long, maybe a month after I said, if it's that long. Looked up and she done left him. Men, listen, don't listen. Don't think that somebody's gonna put up with something long enough. Somebody once told me they had a dog and said the dog left the house one day and never came back. Dog got tired of him. Dog's not gonna leave at home if you taking care of that dog and treating that dog right. Amen. I'm not trying to call anybody no dog. Don't get me wrong. That's again, I'm getting clarification, I'm getting understanding. I want y'all to say I'm calling nobody no dog, but I'm saying you have to learn to appreciate people. People want to be appreciated. They want to be valued. Listen to what that person's saying. Take the time to listen. Take the time to communicate. If you disagree, say, you know what? I disagree, but help me to get understanding. And allow a person the freedom to disagree. Person ain't no robot. People do not have to be a robot. They don't have to agree with everything you do. I don't have to agree with everything my wife says. She don't have to agree with everything I say. And I think that's a problem in leadership. Sometimes in leadership, even in church, you don't have to agree with everything. Everybody in the church does not have to agree with me as the pastor. You have a right to disagree with me. But if you disagree, have a valid reason. Don't just say, I disagree for the sake of disagreeing. Let's reason together. Maybe you have a valid reason. Maybe you can change my thinking if you come to me with a valid reason. You may not agree with your pastor, but have a good reason why you disagree with him and be respectful enough to come to him and say, I have never fallen out with the pastor. I've been saved almost 50 years. Never fallen out with the pastor. There's times I've disagreed, but I've always respected the pastor. I went to a one-on-one and I tried to get understand. Never confronted the pastor on public, never did. And if I have a disagreement, I try to be respectful as I can, and I pick my words. Sometimes you have to choose the words that you going to say when you talk to somebody. Think about what you're saying. Think about it before. Listen, I appreciate all the comments on here. I appreciate you taking the time each week to listen. It's my turn now. Next week, it's my turn. Will not be on the air. Next week will be on the air 2 weeks, unless we make a change. If we're on the air next week, it'll be a different time, but most likely we're not going to be on the air for certain this time on next Monday. But in the meantime, keep a positive attitude. Focus on listening to the people that are in your life. Let the people that are in your life know that they matter, know that they care, appreciate and respect one another. Love you. God bless you. Until the next time, continue.